welcome to another episode of The Doctor and the Good Fellow. Thanks for tuning in. I'm here with my esteemed colleagues, two guys from New York, childhood friends since they're 9, Uncle Ange.
How are you,
and
sir?
The esteemed Dr. Ronald Gordon. How are you, Doc?
Good. And you?
Doing great. Well, I appreciate your guys' time today, and I just want to get right into something pretty crazy. Doc, you wrote a book called Jane's Dust. Tell our audience why and what's that about.
Well, for about 40 years, I've been doing cases associated with asbestos litigation and some research in the causes of diseases that asbestos causes. And as a result, what happened was in 2008, I was presented with about 50 containers of talcum powder and to look for asbestos in the talcum powder. I found asbestos in all 50 containers. Now, these containers were from many different decades that this company, Colgate, had with their talcum powder called Cashmere Bouquet. And we looked at this stuff, and ultimately I was asked to do an analysis on some human lung tissue regarding the use of Cashmere Bouquet in a case that one of the lawyers had in Baltimore. And what we did was I digested the tissue and looked and found asbestos. We found the specific types of asbestos that we found in the same containers. We didn't find the commercial asbestos that's typically found that was used, amosite and crucidolite, that and even chrysotile, that would normally be seen where it was specifically added to the commercial products. In this particular case, we were finding the two, tremolite and anthophyllite, which were actually just pure contaminants of the talc. And where does the talc come from? It comes from the ground, geologically. And it gets mixed in because there are veins of this asbestos running through the talc deposits, and they get put in and ground up with the rest of it, and it becomes contaminated.
Doc, quick question. You said you started out studying asbestos, and what we all know asbestos is from insulation in buildings. How did talcum powder get in the mix?
Well, because the thinking behind this was there were many women who were developing both mesotheliomas and ovarian cancers and other gynecologic tumors without having any history at all of being exposed to asbestos and asbestos products of any kind. And we were now trying to attribute that asbestos that we were finding to the causation of the mesotheliomas, the ovarian cancers, the endometrial cancers, etc.
But Doc, you used the expression woman. What about men?
Well, men were developing mesotheliomas the same way, that were using it, especially those men that were putting it in their shoes, on their feet, after a shower, in a bathroom, all right? Or they were sprinkling it under their arms, under their breasts, actually, if they were heavy, in the rolls of their stomachs. I mean, these were kinds of things that went on, and the more they used it, especially if they were using it in an enclosed bathroom, the more they inhaled both the talc and the asbestos. And the longer they were there, the talc came out of the air, the asbestos became more concentrated in the air that they breathed.
So let me ask you a question then, Doc. I mean, as my friend for all these years, I had 7 incarcerations, 14 and a half years in and out of the joint. They were selling us this talc and this baby powder in the commissary. And we were all using it in our sneakers, in our shoes, in our underwear, especially if we went on visits. So that means we were at risk just like the women were.
Of course. Of course, everybody was at risk. And the companies that were producing this actually knew that it was potentially dangerous at the time, and they hid the information. Typically, Johnson & Johnson hid it. It's come out in court. They had documentation that the asbestos was in the talc, and they actually attempted in 1974 to remove the asbestos from it, and they realized they couldn't. And they came out with an alternative product called cornstarch. Well, but they never took the talcum powder off the market. They only added the cornstarch.
We had nothing else but Johnson baby powder in the joint. We had nothing more than talc when you got your hair cut. And then my question to you would be, especially as my dear friend, all these Italian guys over the years that you hear dying of cancer, could it be related to that use?
Well, the lung cancer surely potentially can be caused by that. The thing is I'm currently writing a paper regarding the causation of lung cancer by the talc. That has not been documented. Mesotheliomas have, and gynecologic tumors, but not actually the lung tumors. But we know that asbestos causes lung tumors from just the commercial asbestos. Now we're talking about the contaminating other types of asbestos that we see in the form of tremolite and anthophyllite, which actually should be contributing to the lung cancers. The problem is a lot of these people smoke, and smoking causes lung cancer. So the combination of asbestos and smoking are synergistic, in which that means that what will happen is that you will get that tumor. If you're going to develop a tumor or cancer, you'll get it sooner by having the two present at the same time. So it's not 100% safe like Johnson & Johnson is trying to put out there. And it's not 100%, it's never been 100% safe overall, because the talc alone can cause granulomatous lung disease in people, and that's been reported for decades.
Well, then there it goes. You just answered a question, okay? And I didn't even ask the question, except to myself all these years. How come every time I turn around, all I see is, this wise guy, that good fella, he died of cancer. He died of cancer. He died of cancer. He's at the medical center. He's in Rochester. He's down in Butner. He's over there in Kentucky. He's in Devon. And all I keep hearing about is guys passing away from cancer. And I'm thinking about, did we get it from being in the joint? And now you're saying something that I can tell you. We bought Johnson baby powder and talc. And if you went into the barbershop, you saw talc sitting right there, and we used it in the showers like you just said.
Well, I'll tell you one other thing. The Italian talc that a lot of the Italian barbers used way back when, even when we were kids, because I remember it being put on my neck after they were all finished. All right, that Italian talc was full of asbestos, and it came from El Cesone in Italy. That was the talc mines there that were contaminated.
So, Doc, obviously what you may have uncovered is a conspiracy between the FBI and Big Pharma to take out the wise guys in prison with talcum powder. But it's interesting that, along your research, you discovered that all this talcum powder contained asbestos. How many companies were manufacturing talcum powder here in this country?
Well, there were at least two big ones, which was Colgate and Johnson & Johnson. But then every cosmetics company put out a talcum powder product. You could find it with every woman's powder puff with the round or the square powders that were available by every cosmetic company. Where they were getting the talc from for that I can't tell you because I don't know. But every one of these were contaminated. I tested a lot of these cosmetic talcum powders, but it's not only the talcum powders in the cosmetics of talcum powder, but also the bases, the powder bases that women and actors and actresses put on their faces every day almost. All right, that talc is contaminated as well.
Mr. Narrator, you brought up a very, very valid point. Everybody is asked, why are Italian guys dropping dead in prison of cancer? Every time you turn around, somebody's got it. Yes, maybe a lot of them were smokers, so you mix the smoking and the talcum powder, like Doc just said, and all of a sudden, you got a death warrant, a death wish there,
Well, we know Big Pharma will always put profit in front of human life. And there's a lot more to talk on this subject. And Doc, on the next episode, I'd like to talk to you more about what you did after your findings, and want to welcome everybody to the inaugural episode of The Doctor and the Good Fellow. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like us and subscribe. Thank you.